Gentlemen, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us today on ET Now. Mr. Ramakrishnan, if I could really start off with you, what's really happening with rural recovery? Because since post-COVID, one has seen a K-shaped recovery where rural has really lagged. Are there indications on ground which make you believe that rural can make a comeback?
Yeah, so when you look at it from an FMCG lens, there's one thing to remember that the first half of this year was atta was being given free by most governments in India. So to that extent, there was a little bit of muting in the numbers reported for FMCG. So, but if you remove atta and see, there is definitely a recovery, yes. And the growth in rural has overtaken the growth in urban in the last 2-3 months. I mean, before that, urban was leading the show last year, rural has. But that said, I wouldn't say it's completely out of the woods as yet because the growth is just a little above, let's say, household growth rate, which means that we are keeping up with population and maybe marginally above that. Yes, there are some green shoots. Parts of India received very good rainfall last year, but there are parts which had deficit as well. And a lot depends on how the rabi crop shapes up and things like that. So the thing about the events of last week are more to do with the fact that the FMCG business or the industry itself is a long-term steady state kind of business. So that is more to do with it than anything else. But rural recovery, we are seeing early green shoots, but I will not jump to the conclusion that it's out of the woods as yet. That would be my draw on the rural market.
Abni Morning, what is your own sense? I mean, given the exposure that most of these FMCG players have to, the rural end of the market, I mean, as high as 50 to 55% in cases like Imami, Dabur at about 45%, Colgate Britannia also equaling in on that same number. Is it fair to assume that there are at least green shoots visible now when it comes to the rural end of the market?
I think so. If you see in terms of Nielsen, also rural areas saw 7.6% growth, which was ahead of the urban. And after many quarters, this has happened. Second, if you see in terms of commentary in Q4 and further commentary also, the commentary is turning positive. Two caveats here, two things to watch out will be essentially what will be the spatial distribution of monsoon, because monsoon is supposed to be good this year because of the La Nina effect. But we also need to see whether the key high population areas, say of UP, Bihar, Bengal, Jharkhand, etc., those see what kind of rainfall, whether it is too high or too low, that also needs to be seen, which could get masked in a overall pan-India number. These 4-5 states are very high population states, and the per capita consumption of FMCG in these states is also lower. Second thing which we'll watch out is now elections are over. So we need to see the price hikes which are coming in telecom, because at the lower end of the rural consumption, any increase in the telecom charges will have a negative bearing on spends on FMCG. So that we need to see whether it will be 10%, 20%, what's the kind of number. That is one more monitorable. But as of now, it seems local players as a competition is also dipping in many categories because it's anniversarizing and companies are taking proactive steps. Second is price hikes will come back for the sector starting in Q2. Some companies have already taken price hike. So that should also help in terms of the overall sales growth. So the worst seems behind, but keeping fingers crossed.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.